Okay, so I'm going to introduce the man who started this whole thing off with "What is a Smile?" the poem, and a good friend. A reason why we go to the Library of Congress as part of our experiential tour for authors. This man is a brilliant poet, a wordsmith, and certainly a man with a big heart and a great father. So, without further ado, Tony, I'd like you to share who you are. Expand that because I know that you were gracious enough to do the opening poem, and that this is your big 15 minutes to share who you are and what you're about with the poems.
Well, I'm not going to say my name again. You've said it a couple of times already. And for those of you who follow poetry or writing, yes, there are about six or seven poets between Britain, France, US, and Canada who are named Tony Barnett. So when Ken and I were first discussing my first book, he's like, "What name do you want to go by? Because there's so many other Tony Barnetts who are poets and writers." And that's why, yeah, we were going back and forth. And he said, "Well, look, your email is AA Barnett. Let's just call you AA Barnett." So that's how the first book, we'll get the camera to focus in. There we go. No, it's not focusing. Anyway, there we go. That was how we got the first book together. I had met Ken and given him some samples of my writing, which I'd been doing since I was 16. My father was a student of Robert Frost when he was at Harvard, and we always had poetry books and my father's poetry around the house. So when it came to high school English and we got to the section on poetry, I was asked to write a poem, and I figured I was going to knock one out of the park. And it's the first poem in the book, actually, or the second poem in the book, because of the fact that at the age of 16, I had this really idea concept of reverse psychology in a poem. Moving forward over my lifetime, with in and out, with all these different career moves and life changes and becoming a father, what happened was I kept writing, but no one ever really liked what I wrote. They never understood it. Now, that was probably due to mostly immediate family and friends who just didn't quite get it. Uh, Ken and Michelle were the first people who I had ever met who actually liked what I wrote and gave me real positive feedback in writing, which was an amazing thing because I mean, I was writing all the time. And so the first book, Ken talked the other day about it, came together very quickly. Why? Because I had a wealth of work to draw from and put together a book fairly quickly. Now, I didn't have every piece in the first book. That's why there's a second edition, because we had a time budget to get together. But I didn't have to really create anything new. I just had to go back and edit and make modifications to what already existed. And that's what came into that book. Now, one of my favorite pieces from that book is a poem that I had read the other day for the bumper at nighttime. And I'd like to go ahead and read that for you now. It's called Ballroom Dancer, and it fits with what we're doing today with smiles and love and joy and happiness. And all my pieces are always inspired by a moment in time or someone. And this one was a young woman who I had met, and as silly as it sounds, I literally started sitting on my phone and started writing out this poem on my phone, watching her dance at a party. So it's called Ballroom Dancer. By the flames of the hearth, she confessed her introversion. A scientist in life, devoted mind. A dancer emerging in her heart. A child of distant worlds traveled, divergent cultures yet devoted to one. A smile hidden until passion lights. Her quiet beauty emotes a desire. Ever thinking of the following steps to achieve, her Capricorn spirit considers all destinies. And as she watches life change before her, a grasping of cognizance vilifies her heart. Shrouded eyes barely hide desire for love. Her grace among strangers is rare. Tall, her petite frame wears a popular fashion, and without a touch, I feel her hand in mine. As her steps to the music encourage life, the tempo guides each moment and sweep. Her hips follow her phantom partner, and the innocence of her nature grants, and a joyous dancer in heart and mind is realized. That is typical of the things I write. That I'm painting a picture. And Michelle was one of the first people who sat there and coined saying, you paint pictures with words. So we move on to my next book. And I started writing it immediately after the first because so many ideas were coming to me. And I was being so productive with all the things I was doing. And my son and I would go back and forth because I would share with him things I write because he actually started liking what I wrote. After reading the first book, he was like, "Hey, Dad, this is actually pretty cool." Now, he had graduated college at this point and was working on his own. And I would send stuff to him, and he'd go, "All right, I don't understand this one. I don't understand that one." We're going back and forth with a bunch of different things. A year ago this weekend, he passed away from an undiagnosed brain tumor. And when that happened, everything in the book kind of stopped. Writing kind of stopped, hit immediate breaks. And then it wasn't until we got his estate and things finished up that I realized that I need to finish this book and I need to finish it for him. Now, the original title of the book was going to be, A Tree Falls in the Road. And that was the title that he kind of liked. I ended up renaming it after him, One More Sunset. There we go. One More Sunset with You. That was the heart and body of the poem that I had written to him about the fact that I'd wished we'd had one more time and more opportunity together. And with that one, I have a piece that I want to read that is called Heaven. And this came to me not long after he passed away. All or nothing, moments of champagne. The beat saturates the marrow. A true love kiss suddenly illuminates. Circuits of energy overwhelm the soul. A reoccurring encounter time evoke. The life in your eyes conjures home. No expectations can be deterred. The touch of your hand in mine is destiny. Without fruition, a moment discloses two hearts entwined forever hopeful. Tragedy may deter the intention of heart, but resilience bonds the believers. Explaining is beyond comprehension. Two independent people's sudden attraction. Faith is the bait of mountainous vistas, and in a vision, hope is joy and accidental happiness. I wrote that because I figured that was one of the topics and subjects he liked so much. He liked the idea of love and happiness and things like that. So we worked on that. Now, here we are, and the book is out, and it is dedicated to him. And we're, moving forward. I'm more aggressively marketing this book than I did the first one because this one had intention. This one is about love in every way, shape, or form, whether it's love of God, love of family, love of job and duty, devotion, happiness. And as you work through the book, a lot of people really, that's the right word. A lot of me sitting there, what's the right word? A lot of people feel that it's very philosophical, that each piece touches them in a different way. And that's the goal of what I was trying to do, was get them to a point where they go on a journey throughout the book. Now, there's artwork in the book, and I'd love to show you a color photo right now, but I thought about it and I was like, no, pick up the Kindle version. The full color pages are in the Kindle edition. That was an idea of Ken as well. Uh, and then you'll see my love of photography and the depth of it. Sometimes I get beautiful vistas. Sometimes I get something intimate in a moment. Other times I get just a quick splash of life. One of my other pieces that I encourage you to, when you get the book, to read is Farewell to a Danish Sailor. And that is a piece about a community coming together to say farewell to one of its most popular citizens after their passing. And it's sort of about Jack, but it's also about my uncle, Peter, who had passed away after the first book was published. And when I went to his funeral, I was overwhelmed by the fact that his little town in Connecticut, everybody knew him, and the whole community came out for his funeral service. So that was sitting there in the church in the pew writing it with my cousins, very distraught, going, "Who are you texting?" So uh, it's been a great journey. Ken has been fantastic. The spirit behind happiness is something that I've always known. When I was younger, I worked for a brief period of time for Paul Newman, and he was a great mentor and instilled a lot of wonderful ideas. And one of them was be happy, be nice to everybody, be happy, because if you're happy and always kind and generous to others, you'll never be forgotten. So that part has, really been a foundation of everything I've done moving forward. So I think I'm at 11, almost 12 minutes, and I was told to.
You're good. You're good, Paul. If you can cut your video, please.
So the new book,
The show. Thank you.
started working on that one back in January after this one was finished up. And this one's going to take a different path. It's going to be more, I don't want to say spiritual, but it's going to be um, more about fantasy and ethereal things. It's going to be about, the afterlife and a number of other things. And a lot of the pieces that I've been writing are pieces of hope. So maybe at some point, Kim will do a whole series, not on joy and smiles, but on hope. We'll see. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to sit there and respond.
I do believe Francine is still our host. Um, there she is.
Hi.
Haha.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's a lovely day in Northern Virginia for now.
No, oh, Northern Virginia. I love it up there.
So
All right. So we have Francine. You're welcome to ask him any questions, and he has about another minute, and then we have Dr. Paul Miller ready to go. And whenever there's someone in the waiting room, they wait until the last minute so the speaker gets all the time he can get to share everything he wants to share. So, Tony, if you'll please share how people can purchase your book, how to reach you, how to support you, if you have IG or any type of channels that we can all help you with. And
I'm on Instagram. It's Tony Barnett Poet on Instagram. And you can also find me on Amazon. That's the best way to find me. Just look up either book, Enlightenment Through the Fog, The Musings of a Short Attention Span, which, by the way, that was intended to be a serious title, not funny title, even though everybody laughs about the fact that, yeah, The Musings of a Short Attention Span, people kind of grasp onto that one. But you can find me there. It's A. Barnett on Amazon. A little bit difficult times to find it, but if you look up and search One More Sunset with You, you'll find all my books and everything else there.
And we'll put links so you can go directly to get his book. And the SEO, the more people buy and also give reviews, the easier it is to search for some books. But I will say this,
Yes.
Tony, your book and your heart and everything about what you've done for publishing Smiles, you're just quite the gentleman, and I'm proud to call you a friend. I call Jeff Bezos a couple of times a day, and he doesn't really address this fact, but I do want your book to be the first thing that shows. I mean, we were nice enough to put it on Amazon, and he's not putting you at the front of Amazon.
Well, you know what's frustrating? I look up poetry books a lot, and I look up poetry books on Amazon and in bookstores and stuff, and everything is so negative. Everything is so, political and negative and, angst driven and stuff like that. And I'm like going, here's a book of love poems in every way conceivable way you can think of of love. The final piece in the book, by the way, if you love dogs, guarantee you, everyone who's read the final poem in the book cannot stop crying. And
And
it's crying of
they
tears
go
of
buy a
joy.
dog. And they go
Yeah.
buy a dog. So listen, Tony, thank you very much. We got to go into Dr. Paul Miller and Francine. Thank you for hosting. I just wanted to help out a little bit there. Thank you.